I'm Gina Knepp, and I do manage the Front Street Animal Shelter at the city of Sacramento. We are government, municipal, municipal. 11,000 cats and dogs, 1,000 miscellaneous creatures. But before I really start talking about what I want to talk about today, and that's my version of leadership, it's my truth, you're probably wondering how in the hell I got to be standing up here. Why me? Well, the truth is, Bonnie and her team were at the bar drinking, doing Rochambeau. That is how I got up here. It was good to see some of you that I met in Las Vegas come up here, and there are new faces, so that's exciting. The group is bigger, and I'm proud and proud to be a part of it, but proud to see what Nevada is doing. I just wish California could do that. I have a presentation, unlike Suzanne Kogutz. I don't know why they made me follow her. She is one of the women in animal welfare that I respect greatly, but my PowerPoint will not be like hers. I do want to say one thing though. Every animal welfare presentation I go to, the presenter always puts their pet in the slides. So I put mine in. This is Dino. You think I'm kidding. Leadership requires attention, so I just need your attention for 1 hour. My goal today is to ignite a spark. I said this in Vegas. Every forest fire starts with one spark. And Suzanne said a lot of the things that I'm also going to touch on. We did not copy each other's presentations. But leadership, how do you define it? What is it? And for me, I think leadership is a lot like pornography. It's a lot like pornography, right? You are not going to forget that statement. You know it when you see it, right? Stormy, y'all know Stormy Daniels. You know pornography when you see it. You know leadership when you see it, and you also know when you don't see it, right? We've all seen that person. Well, we're not going to be those people today. We are going to be incredible leaders. We already are. My background a little bit. So I've been with the city of Sacramento, government worker for 32 years. 19 of those years were spent with the Sacramento Police Department in 911 communications. It took me a while, but I finally worked my way to the top of that food chain. I was managing 911 when the city decided to launch a 311 call center. If you don't know what that is, it's a 24-hour call center. They do everything that police and fire don't do, like there's a stray dog, or there's a street light out, or you missed my garbage pickup. So the city encouraged me to apply, which I did, and I reduced my digits from 911 to 311. And I launched the call center from the ground up. So I'm there about, 6 years, when my director at the time calls me and says, I need you to go to the Front Street, or it wasn't the Front Street Animal Shelter, I need you to go to the Pound, is what she said. We're gonna shut down our services and outsource it to the local SPCA. We're the worst shelter in town, high euthanasia rates, just deplorable. Nobody goes there, blah, blah, blah. I'm a good soldier, and I said, well, I'll go, but I didn't know the difference between a Pomeranian and a pit bull, and that's the honest to God truth. I was not an animal person before. I mean, I had a dog, but I wasn't like you people. I am now like you people, and I didn't used to cry in the middle of presentations, but I do now. Thank you, Suzanne. So I get to the Front Street Shelter. It wasn't the Front Street Shelter, but that's what I call it now. And I had 3 months to close down the books, and I was assured I would never have to touch a dog or a cat, for that matter. And as soon as I got there, well, I'm very competitive, and I like to win. It's all about winning for me. And I know that sounds horrible, but I want to be first. I want to do something that other people say cannot be done. That was a big motivator. But for me, the big motivation was there were 31 employees when I got there that were all going to lose their jobs. So we gathered together behind my boss's back. This is, what do we have to do to save this place? Truly, that is what we did. Came up with a scheme, went back to my boss, went back to the city manager and said, give me 1 year to show you that we can be best, that we can be extraordinary. And they believed me. And for that 1 year, I managed 311 and 911. 311 and the shelter, almost died, but that's how I got to my 32, in case anybody's doing the math. True story. This is a picture, there's Dino again, of my 7 years at Front Street. it didn't happen overnight. It was about progress, not perfection. We had a small team, dilapidated facility. It's still a shithole, sorry. In structure, it's old. Not enough funding. The same story many of you say all the time, right? But we managed to do this despite that. And we did it because we wanted to, because we believed that we could. And leaders are responsible for inspiring that belief in their teams. If you're at the top of the food chart and you don't believe it can be done, it won't be done. Your people have to believe that what you tell them is actually going to happen. I always say that I just drive the bus at Front Street, and I do drive the bus and have all these passengers on my bus. Sometimes they're singing, 99 bottles of beer on the wall. Sometimes they're hanging out the windows. But they follow me because, well, in the beginning, I think they followed me because they wanted me to save their jobs, right? But they follow me today because this feels good. I still have an employee there he's most tenured, 17 years or something. And he told me, I remember coming to work and euthanizing animals my entire day. And that's really hard on the soul, right? Very hard on the soul. Today he tells me, I work so much harder today than I used to, but it feels so much better. So the blue bar represents cats and dogs only coming into our facility, and the red bar represents the wet noses and heartbeats that left our facility. We still have a ways to go. This month so far, this is probably our best month ever. It's 89 for dogs and 90 for cats. So we're getting there. And I think it's important for you to know that that 90 number doesn't really mean that much to me. As a municipal shelter leader, I have a responsibility for public safety. I do. And I refuse to put out animals that may harm someone. I won't do it. So whether you agree or not, that's my mantra. This, and some of you have seen this chart is it the right one? That's like 1997 to 2017. Now, you can tell where we got to work. But this represents the most horrific leadership ever. There were 4 shelter directors before me. 4. What were they doing? Sitting in their offices? Same crew. I've hired new people, but the same employees were there when thousands and thousands of animals were euthanized. I always think of July 2010 because I look at the reports. I, like Suzanne, love the data. They euthanized 700 cats the month of July in 2010. In 1 month. We don't do that in a year. That's disgusting. That's like pornography. You know it when you see it, right? That's bad leadership. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than anybody because I'm not. This is not rocket science, though. I feel like I have to qualify myself to be up here. I am not a lawyer. I did not graduate from college. I will tell you the truth, I'm 6 units away from a damn degree, and I don't qualify for the job description that I currently sit in. However, if you haven't finished going to school, please do that. I believe in that. I should have done that. I might be a lawyer. I knew when I got there that we needed to do things differently. People always ask me, how do you raise so much damn money? Because I try, right? Before I got there, there was no applying for grants. They didn't have anybody who knew how to do that. Well, I'd never written a grant in my life. It's not that hard. It's not neuroscience, right? You fill in the blanks, you drop in your numbers, you ask for something, and you get it. $1.3 million in grant funding. And I will say that most of that money came from the Petco Foundation. So if you're not a Petco partner, shame on you. Shame on you. I will digress, and if I go over my hour, you'll just be late for your lunch. just got $100,000 from PetSmart Charities for the work we do supporting the animals of people experiencing homelessness. And that's a whole other class. But PetSmart actually reached out to us because we have a very unique program with a 24/7, almost a year now, homeless shelter where there are no barriers and their pets are there. And it's a really cool model. They gave us $100 grand to keep going, which is really cool. If you ask for the money, you'll get it. The secret is you have to prove to the grantor that you're willing to work your tail off. Almost slipped. You're willing to work your tail off and that you're making progress. You don't have to be no-kill overnight, but you have to demonstrate a dedication to saving the animals for all the right reasons. Fundraising. How in the heck does a municipal shelter fundraise? We just do, right? I forgot to tell you that I like to break the rules. I don't commit any felonies, but I'm not risk averse, but I'm also not reckless. I remember when I started this fundraising endeavor, the year before I got there, revenue was $26,000. And if you look at that number, in 16 and 17 calendar years, we brought in over $1.5 million. Our average donor gives us $60. We have a huge number of donors, obviously, but they're not rich people. Okay. I forgot what I was gonna say next. Oh, I know. So, this is another thing. I'm experimenting with you guys. I am not a speaker. This is the second time I've done this, and I decided to not use my notes today, just to see if I could remember what I wanted to say. It's better that way. So I remember when I went to my director at the time and I said, you know, we have this utility bill, goes out to solid waste, garbage, water people, you know, you get it every month. I decided I wanted to do a utility mailer. I'm sure all of you have done it. It's a little insert and people write you a check and send it back. So I did that and the money started coming in, right? And the person who will not be named from another nonprofit organization in Sacramento, SPCA, no. That director actually called my boss, not me, called my boss and said, you need to tell Gina to stop fundraising. She's taking away from our donors. And I believe there's plenty of money for all of us. There's a lot of stinking rich people in this country, right? And then he said, well, if she's not gonna stop, you gotta give me half the money. Well, I called BS on that. And you know what that did to me? It made me fundraise even harder. Don't tell me I can't do something. And that's leadership. Like the women, oh, it's all my fault, I didn't do it right. BS. I know that I was a man in my previous life though. So the truth about the dinosaur. So I was looking for a template that was like sophisticated and cool and professional that would impress all of you. And I stumbled across this dinosaur, it's a science project template for kids. Kids have to do PowerPoints these days. When you're creating your PowerPoint, there's this little circle in the middle of the dinosaur and you can make him dance and flip around. That's how I got his repositioning. It's a true story. I thought that was kind of funny. Why are we successful at Front Street? Because we believe in the power of people. We don't turn people away that want to help us. I already told you I'm not that smart. And there are people in our community, they're like bank vice presidents and engineers and architects and lawyers who want to help us. So we need to let them. We trust people at Front Street to do the very work that we do. Period. And if you want to know more about our volunteer program, which I feel, by the way, is like the most rockinest volunteer program on the planet, come to our session this afternoon. The graph on the left is 2017's hours that our volunteers gave us. 109,829 hours in 1 year of free service. And if you're the HR person, all you have to do is divide that by 2080, which is full-time work. That's equal to having 54 additional employees, which is more than I actually have on payroll. The private sector says that's worth $2.4 million. You gotta look at that two different ways. A, they help you get a lot of work done, and you can be successful, right? They're the biggest champions for your shelter out in the community, because if they love what they're doing, they're gonna tell everybody they know that they volunteer at Front Street, And they all wear those damn shirts, so they're like billboards, all at the grocery store, right? They're our biggest donors. They are our biggest donors. And they're our biggest champions when people come after us. Because we do have haters, right? Everybody here? A little bit. Not everybody loves us. There was an audit of Long Beach, California in 2016, and you've probably all been through audits or assessments, et cetera. And I saw this like 2 months ago. I didn't even know it existed. They compared benchmark cities. And look, Sacramento is at the top of that list over San Jose, San Francisco. Those are big, wealthy cities. And we won. It's all about winning. Just saying. That's important. It's important to be... I think it's important for you to know that I'm the girl at the gym. I know it doesn't look like I go to the gym, but I'll be on the treadmill and I will be racing the person next to me and they don't even know it. Truth, that's what I do. I can't help it. I don't know why I'm that way. I was a man in my previous life. The power of people, both your staff, your community, your volunteers, your local businesses. I never used to have to ask for money, and now I ask everybody for money, and they give it to us. It's just mind-boggling. There's a lot of money, but I digress. This is gonna, okay, just work with me here. Believe me, right? So I tell my team all the time, just trust me. So I have a daughter, she's 26 years old, and she, when she was a little girl, I wanted to make sure she didn't become one of those women. I wanted her to be strong and powerful and confident and have body love and not dysmorphic image like I have. You know, like run around the house naked and not be uncomfortable with that. Come on, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. And I don't even know where I got this. I have no idea, but I know it started in kindergarten. And I would drop her off and she'd get out of the car and I'd say, Ruby, what does it take to be great? Oh, I forgot to tell you, she's an MMA fighter by night and an event planner by day. So I would say, Ruby, what does it take to be great? And this little 5-year-old kid would stand in the parking lot and she'd scream, attitude, attitude, attitude. And then I'd say, what are you, Ruby? And she'd say, genius, genius, genius. She would hit her forehead so hard I was concerned about her frontal lobe. Loud, I mean, she did it loud in the playground or the parking lot area. And this continued all through elementary school. Mind you, when it got to high school, it got a little quieter. Attitude, 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 genius, genius, genius. But I swear to you, we did it her entire educational career before she went to college. So my daughter's married to a pilot in the Air Force. I told you she does a little MMA at night, and she had a fight recently, and the Air Force decided to do like a little 3 or 4 minute PSA on her because they wanted to show the wives of the military that you can be more than just a wife. You can do things. You can be, bold, and you don't have to just sit at home having children. And it's a really cool PSA. But I was watching it, and in it, when she's talking about what she does and why she does it, she says, attitude is everything. She still has it. It's still with her, right? That's what you have to do for your children. And I know that right now, you're gonna think, I'm so crazy. It's a little true. But you're captive. You can't go anywhere. It'd be embarrassing to get up and leave. So you think I'm kidding, huh? Bobby's like, she's gonna do it. Stand up. Come on, we gotta have some energy. And I don't care if you don't like it. I don't know you people. But you have an opportunity. I did this once at the city of Sacramento with like 1,000 people. You have an opportunity to do this once, and if you screw it up, then we'll do it again. So I'm gonna ask you what it takes to be great, and in your loudest voices, you're gonna say attitude, attitude, attitude. And then when I say, what are you? You're gonna say genius, 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 okay? Are you with me? What does it take to be great? Attitude, attitude, attitude. And what are you? Genius, genius, genius. All right, some of you got into it, I saw you. We'll drink later. Bobby, I won't fall off the chair, I promise. You will never forget that. You won't forget that, just like you won't forget my dinosaur. And no, I'm not a dinosaur because I haven't been in the business long enough to be a dinosaur. You won't forget it. Whether you use that on your children or you use that on your staff or your volunteers, you have a responsibility to make people believe that they are amazing. You get exactly what you expect. And if your expectation bar, whoa, almost fell through the stage. If your bar's down here, that's exactly what people will give you. Exactly. But if it's up here, they want to go there. People want to be good. They want to be great. They want to be amazing. Set your bar really high. Bobby in the front row works for me, and he knows my expectations are really, really high. But they're not unrealistic, and I don't ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. So that's good leadership in my opinion. I have these kind of crazy leadership lessons. And I was the one that Suzanne quoted saying, read everything ever written by Colin Powell or watch his videos. I worship him. I wanted to be in the military instead of becoming a shelter manager, but that didn't happen. One of his statements I really agree with, and being responsible sometimes means pissing people off. And I can say the P word because he said it and he's like important. So I'm not a famous, philosopher or anything like that, but I do have strange little quirky rules. And one of them is the dinner rule. The dinner rule is this: what you think of me is none of my business. It is not my job to be friends with the people I work with, right? It's not. Or the volunteers, they're not my friends. We have a job to do. It's a business. And that's another thing that I see a lot. Animal sheltering, animal control is a business, just like any other business. So my dinner rule is, if I care about what you think about me, then I would invite you into my home, which is my safe place, to have dinner with me. But if I would never invite you to my house, I don't really care what you think. I have a job to do. It's okay not to be buddies with the people that you are tasked with leading and guiding. It is your job, though, to do all the other things. Give them all the tools they need. Give them everything they need. I think there's a mistake. No? I'm making that up. There's no mistake. I never make mistakes. So that's my dinner rule. I do have to say that now I would probably invite about 90% of my staff to my house for dinner. I'll talk about my team a little bit later. And you don't know what you can get away with until you try. And I am the queen of doing things without permission. If you ask for permission, you ask enough people, especially lawyers, you're gonna find someone who tells you no. They feel it's their job to tell you no. The Front Street Animal Shelter, that's not our real name. That's illegal, right? But one of the things that we did with the crew is rebranded ourselves. We happened to be on Front Street, so we said from here on out, from this moment forward, we will always call ourselves the Front Street Animal Shelter so that people know where we are and who we are, because frankly, Animal Care Services, City of Sacramento, is pretty dry. I hate it. We've done such a good job of rebranding ourselves, especially on social, and you know you've arrived when this happens, and someone puts a comment under a Facebook post that says, "You guys are so awesome, you really should teach the city shelter how to be more like you." True story. I have a screenshot of that. I should have put it in here. I'm trying to get our name legally changed. I mean, people are dying and they're leaving estates to the Front Street Shelter. Thank God the bank's cashing those, right? We changed our URL on our website, Front Street Shelter. It's not real, it's fake. It's fake. People think we're a nonprofit, so, right? They still write us checks, we still put them in the bank. It's awesome, it's so awesome. This picture is a picture I took on my cell phone. Bobby has a fancy video that he'll show you later, but this is just a cell phone video of, we had a brew fest. I decided, let's have a brew fest. And I had it because I was mad about a previous gala, and I wanted to prove, again, competitive Gina, prove that we could make a ton of money with less work. So a small team of people, Bobby and I are the only paid staff involved, put on a brew fest. Street closure, 40 breweries, 10 food trucks, 3 bands, those cornhole games, some vendors. It was fun. And no, I did. I followed some rules. I got a permit and I got the insurance and all that. But the city's permit office had the audacity to tell me that you can't start advertising or selling tickets until we approve your permit. Well, I didn't listen to them. And off we went, right? Branding, marketing, blah, blah, blah. Go to frontstreetbrewfest.com. It's so cool. When do you think I got the approved permit before the event? 8 days before. 8 days. Well, we marketed for how long? 3 months? Sold out, 3,000 people, cleared nearly 80 grand on a whim because I was mad about something else. Don't ask for permission unless you absolutely have to. Don't commit felonies. No felonies. The occasional misdemeanor, maybe an infraction. But I always tell my team too, what's the worst thing that can happen? Are they gonna make me work at the pound? I always say too that as long as nobody died, we're good. So when my staff come to me, and sometimes they do, and they're like, oh my God, and they're in crisis, or I made a huge mistake, I always say, did anybody die? And if nobody died, we can fix it, right? And you gotta be the kind of boss too, where you don't really have to berate them. They berate themselves because they feel so bad that they disappointed you. So much easier that way. Ask Bobby about that. The disappointment factor. We've all seen this, and it's maybe kind of cliche. I do something that scares me every single day when I look in the mirror and I notice another wrinkle. But this is what I really believe in. If you can't beat fear, just do it scared. Half the time I don't know what I'm doing. When I got this job, I know stuff now like, agonal breathing and laterally recumbent and pyometra and prolapse rectums. I didn't know any of that stuff. Now I can practically do a neuter, but this scares me right here, scares me standing here, but I did it scared. So what? I don't know you people, you're not coming over for dinner, right? And Suzanne talked about fear. Fear drives everything, and it prevents us from doing and being incredible. If nobody died, you're golden. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. I might have to diss on the attorneys right now. I wanted to be an attorney. First I wanted to be Miss America and the President of the United States as a child, but then I wanted to be an attorney. And my life didn't end up that way, and I know why, because I'd be a horrible attorney. I'd probably be in jail. But we spend so much time, and I think leaders use this method as an excuse for not doing something for not doing something they don't want to do anyway. Let's do a survey. Let's analyze. Let's assess. Let's get a consultant. Let's ask the whole team what they think. Blah, 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 blah. And yeah, sometimes that's important, but come on, people. You don't have to do that for every single decision that you're going to make or every single project that you're going to attempt. I like pilot projects. I love pilot projects. On Front Street, the theme is, and everybody knows this, we'll try it once. What is it, Bobby? We'll try it twice if it feels good, and the third time it's policy. And that's when I actually write the policy out. And that works for me, and it serves me well. Recently, the city decided that we needed to hire a consultant to do a fee study because we are inadequate in our fee schedule, because we're government, so we have to have a fee schedule. It has to be published. Those of you in municipals know that. And we didn't have anything in our fee schedule that itemized the charges that we could charge, return to owners if we provided medical care for an animal. So if an animal gets hit by a car and our vet, nip and tuck and clean, clip and clean, that's the term, or whatever we do to them, we can't charge back for that. And so this consultant's supposed to do this fee study so that we can collect the money that's due to us. And then my boss, I do have a boss, my boss decides we should just do a whole assessment of the shelter. Okay, so we have a firm coming in, and I'm actually kind of excited about it. But they're going to, so now we're giving them all this information. You've all maybe been through these kinds of things before, like an audit or an assessment. I'm gonna give them all this stuff, and they're gonna write this report for $100,000. Write this report that's going to tell the city of Sacramento that our facility is inadequate, that we're underfunded, and we don't have enough people. Isn't that dumb? Why don't they listen to me? Hopefully this report won't sit on a shelf and get dusty, and hopefully the right people will read it, and it will support what I've been saying forever, but don't spend too much time deciding. Just do something. You have to hire the right people. You see my dino in there? Is that cute or what? I had so much fun moving him around. That's not my whole crew. Some of them got to have a day off. But you have to hire the right people. And you don't have to hire people that love animals. You have to hire people that are passionate, that are intelligent, that have energy, that are teachable, that are eager, that have people skills. Because guess what's at the other end of the leash? Human beings. When I first got this job, I just didn't understand that. So many people said, I hate people. And I didn't get it in the beginning because I didn't know what they were talking about. And I don't hate people, I love people. Because people are the ones who adopt. They're the ones who donate. They're the ones who volunteer. They're the ones who take care of us when we can't take care of ourselves. So that's my motley crew, and it is my job to give them training, to give them the tools that they need, to mentor them, to coach them, to guide them, to give them examples, to put them in the right places, because this is another thing that people do and bosses do, not just in animal welfare, but everywhere. Lisa doesn't like to clean dog kennels. She only likes to work with cats. I'm gonna make her clean dog kennels forever. Why do we do that to people? If Joe is an amazing behavior evaluator, why would I have him working with cats? First you gotta find out what your people are good at. Or what are they interested in learning, and let them do those things. And then they become rock stars because they get to do something they enjoy, and guess what? They work even harder because they enjoy what they're doing. And then they feel important because you've given them some kind of special project. And, you know, they say that we have to be fair and you can't play favorites, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you don't have to be fair. You can play favorites. Bobby, what do my favorite employees get?
More work.
More work. But just like I did with my daughter, it is my job to give all of these folks that same belief that they are capable of anything. Anything. Together, we can do amazing things. So what if you get hired like I did, and there were 31 people there, and you didn't hire them? You inherited them, right? That happens. You still have to figure out who's on your team. You have to figure out who's good at what. And you need to figure out, is there somebody you need to get rid of? And I'm not proud of this, but I have terminated several people that were there when I got there. One was an animal control officer with 32 years on the job. And the 4 directors before me, shame on them. They're the ones that allowed that to perpetuate. And if you hear people say you can't terminate somebody in a government job, I call BS on that. But as a leader, as a manager or supervisor, you know what you need to do. Address the situation, retrain. The goal of discipline isn't to get rid of somebody. It's to fix a problem, right? Correct a behavior, retraining, what have you. I really believe that when my employees fail, 99% of the time, it's my fault. When your people screw up, it's your fault if you're in charge, because you didn't give them the right training or you didn't give them the right tools. Most often, and I do this, you weren't clear on your intent. And you really, really, really have to be clear on your intent. There's a general named retired colonel, somebody or other, you know, I like the military, Magnus. and he teaches leadership in Southern California. He's very good. But he said, it's your fault. You have to be clear on your intent. And I'm not perfect at it. But I have to say that I've had 3 very distinct careers at the city of Sacramento. I'm going to try not to cry like Suzanne did. 3 distinct careers. 32 years. By the way, I started when I was 12. This team that I have right now, including my volunteers, make me feel so loved and so protected. I've never felt this before. If someone comes after me, they better watch out, because that crew, that little army that I have, will do anything to protect me. Do they like me every day? No. Do I make them mad? Absolutely. I'm just doing what Colin Powell said and pissing people off. But I've never had a crew of people make me feel so incredibly good. So Boss's Day happened recently, and mind you, I've been there 7 years and they never celebrated Boss's Day before, so I don't know how this happened. I have no idea. Hold on.
It's a highball.
Looks like that. Oh, look at
He's kind of
that.
funky too.
Aww. Blown away. That's so nice. I've been here 7 years. What happened? What changed? I finally figured out what day it was. My team loves me. Not all the time, but they make me feel cared for. And that kind of stuff, that's priceless, in my opinion. So they're always messing with me, always. Here's another one of Gina's rules. Y'all heard of the I think it's Hans Christian Andersen, the emperor who had no clothes. He hired some scoundrels to make him the finest of royal clothing, and they convinced him that only the elite would actually be able to see the garments, right? And his circle around him, his court, his senior staff is what I call him. Nobody had the courage to tell him that he was naked. So I always tell my team, my senior staff, tell me when I'm naked, okay? And I think leadership requires a lot of trust between you and especially your direct reports, that you don't get mad when they tell you that you're naked, and that they have enough courage to tell you when you are. Because I make mistakes, or sometimes I come up with ideas that are so stupid, almost felonious. And fortunately, my crew knows that they can tell me. I will say this right now, though. There was an incident recently. I was very, very mad, or in a very bad place the night before a gala, and I was stressed because I work with these millennials that wait until the last minute to do everything. And I was less than a professional in my conversation with Bobby and Alyssa. I was losing my mind. I was like, blah, it's tomorrow, what are we gonna do, blah, blah, you know. And it always turns out just fine. But I apparently was being naked. And Bobby says to me, boss, you're naked. And I heard him, but it made me so mad. And then he called me Shirley, which is a lady that is one of the volunteers who can be very negative. So I'm driving home and I called Bobby and I said, Bobby, if you ever call me Shirley again, I'm gonna fire you. Don't do that, don't do that. But develop a relationship with your senior staff that allows them the courage, without retribution, to tell you when you're wrong, because you're gonna make mistakes, or you're gonna sink your heels in for the wrong reasons. Sometimes I do that, and it's not a good place to be. I took my entire senior staff kayaking. There's 10 or 11 of us. The veterinarians went. There were people that joined us that day that had never been in a kayak before. And I just said, we're shutting things down. We left our entire workforce there to manage the place, and they did just fine. Nobody died. And we met at Lake Natoma at 8:30 in the morning, and we kayaked for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Only one person landed in the water. We took care of her.
She didn't die.
She didn't die. We weren't supposed to talk about work. Sometimes you gotta do that with your colleagues and not talk about cats and dogs. I went on a weekend trip with one of our volunteers, and that's all she wanted to talk about. And I had to say, Julie, stop. Could we talk about politics or something? Let's talk about Stormy Daniels. But it's important to remember to take time to have fun. You know, every time I go out of office, my email to the entire team says, no dancing on the tables while I'm gone, because they will. But this time I said, no dancing on the tables, but if you do, please wear a helmet. You have to have, our jobs are hard, and there's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And the lows are the hardest lows I've ever felt in my life. You know, there's animals that will forever plague me, and I don't like that. You know, I worked at 911, and I listened to people die. I was the last voice some of those people ever talked to. I heard people kill their children. I heard mothers wake up and find, the baby in the crib deceased. This job is harder than that to me. And unless you do this job like all of you do, the outside world doesn't understand. So if you don't make time to play, if you don't make time to do things other than save lives and regroup and recover, you can't keep doing this. And I know that I could not do this for 30 years, which is, there are dinosaurs, and how they keep going, I don't know. But it's okay to play, and you have to allow that in your staff. And I do have a bunch of pranksters on my team, but it's a good thing. We need the joviality. Okay, so I had to throw this in because I do want you to know that I really do have pets. So this is my husband and I wearing our Front Street t-shirts. The black lab is Cole, I got him at Front Street, and the English Cocker on the right is Buddy, and on the left is Jewel. They both passed away in the last couple of months though. And then there's Dino, he's in the picture too. Just wanted to make sure you knew it was there. Leadership is hard. It's hard. And if it was easy, everybody would step up to do it. Don't you find that everybody comes to you and they've got great ideas and they want you to do this or that? And, they're full of it, but nobody wants to be in charge, right? Leadership takes a special kind of grit and a special kind of courage that most people don't have. If you're a leader in your organization, you're special. You're doing things that most people are like, not me. Easy to sit back and be an armchair warrior, easy to sit back and criticize, but it's really hard to be the general, right? To take the charge, to take the lead. But when you do those things with all your heart and work your tail off, that is an extraordinary leader. And you're showing people in your organization what that looks like. And perhaps you're cultivating leaders of the next generation. And to me, that's incredibly important. And it's something that I take very seriously. I've had the opportunity to mentor several people that now have, they're running 911 centers elsewhere, or they're just city clerks, because we have to take care of each other. And it's, I think, important for all of us to look at that. It's not just about us. We are not the center of the universe. Truly, we're not. This is my favorite picture of me. I am wearing a hat. It's called Wet Head. If you've never played it, you should. And when I die, I want this picture on the little flyer that people get at the funeral. Robin Williams is also one of my all-time favorite people. I must have been thinking about him a lot because I dreamt about him the other day. He was in my dream giving me an award. You're only given one little spark of madness. You mustn't lose it. And if you don't think you have a little spark of madness in you, you're in the wrong industry. You must be creative. You must be courageous. You must be willing to try almost anything except for felonies. You must believe that you can do it. If a municipal shelter in Sacramento, California can do what we've done, than all of you can. How many of you are with government agencies? You raising any money? Rhetorically. How's your volunteer program? You got 100,000 hours a year? You bringing in, $1.5 million in fundraising, 1.3 million in grants? Are you doing that? If you're not, you need to ask yourself why. All you nonprofits, you guys got all the money, and you can do whatever you want. So if you're not doing what we're doing, shame on you, because you don't have the same rules. I challenge you, call me. I'm very responsive to emails. I'm horrible with my cell phone, but I do text. I do Instagram too. I'll give you my handle later. One spark of madness. I hope I left you with something that gives you some, I don't know, go back to your team and do this, if anything. I welcome any questions that you might have. I'd be happy to drink with you later. Thank you.